Hi! Ever wondered how some people seem to be able to attract jobs and exciting work opportunities without seeming to make any effort? That is the power of personal branding. And we will be talking about this over the next 2 hours, coming right up! Hello! Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yuan. I'll be your facilitator for today. Now, first things first, sound check. Can you all hear and see me okay? If you can, please type into the chat box yes or Y or whatever, just something to tell me that it's okay. Excellent. Thank you so much. Right. Now, I saw some familiar names. So if you've been to my past workshops before, can you also indicate in the chat box that you've been to my past workshops? Just type a yes or something that you've been into my workshops before. Okay, great. Thank you, Kelly. Good to see you, Daisy. All right, so this gives me a sense, a feel of whether, because there's some things that you might hear before, you see. Hi, Floyd. Good to see you as well. Okay, all right. So we have a couple of hours together. Okay, so there's a lot to cover. Now, normally I do this workshop, I have done this workshop for WSG as a full day workshop. Then in the past few months, we had to truncate it down to about 2 hours. So there's a lot to cover. Okay, so I'm gonna sort of try and go through this as good as I can, but please forgive me if I do miss something out. All right. And okay, just a little bit about myself first. I think you saw from the brief bio I had at the beginning, I'm a practicing career coach for my own business, all right, but I'm also a trainer and facilitator. I train other people to become career coaches as well. Okay, but one thing I want to level set, or rather two things. Okay, the first thing here is that I am not a personal branding guru. Okay, I'm not a guru. Okay, but what I do know about personal branding is basically from my own experiences, where I used it to help me successfully change careers through my corporate life before I became a coach. And I've also used those same techniques and information to help my own clients as well. Okay, so that is where I'm coming from. So I'm going to keep it as practical, as realistic as possible. Right? And personal branding is such a big area, right? So I'm going to focus down on something that's very, very specific. And hopefully it's very relevant to you all as well. Okay, so that's how it's going to do. But let's say before I begin, let's talk about what personal branding is. Okay, so what brand do you first think of when we talk about shoes, track shoes, exercise shoes? Can you type into the chat box, what are some of the brands you think about? A lot of people say Nike. Any other brands? Well, mostly Nike. Or Nike got good brand share, man. Adidas, yes. Okay, Adidas, Royal Sport. Okay, Royal Sport, I think it's a retail outlet. Okay, New Balance, right? Very good. Okay, so we all have some brand in mind. Fila, okay. What about taking a plane? What brand or what airline would you take? Okay, SQ, SIA, SQ, all right. Wow, you see, we are Singaporeans, right? So we know, well, that is the best airline in the world. Huh? So, okay, very good top of mind awareness. Qatar Airways is good as well. Emirates, very good as well. Okay. What about this? If you want to meet up with a friend for a nice coffee chat, where would you go? Where would you go for this nice coffee chat with nice environment? Starbucks, yeah, Toastbox, Starbucks, Habitat Cage. Okay, I've not been to that one, so hopefully a cafe. Okay, Ya-Kun, Coffee Bean. Okay, good. All right, so these are places and products that we would that we know, all right, and gives us an impression. Okay, let's talk about people. Just imagine now you are in a cocktail party. This is a very atas cocktail party, so a lot of very important guests there. Now, what happens when this person shows up? Do you know who this person is? If you are, then you are my same generation. Okay? If you know the person, type into the chat box. Okay, Pauline, yeah, Zoe Tay, right? Or Ta Jie, a lot of people say, right? So, I told you, right, this cocktail this cocktail party is very atas. So, how would she make people feel at the party? When you see her coming to your party, the one that you're attending, cocktail party, how would it make you feel? How would it make you feel? Would it make you feel good? Would you make you feel, wow, this is a very glamorous event, Well, warm. Yvonne says very warm. Okay, very nice. Okay. So, her presence already gives people some feeling, right? Okay. Now, what about this guy? Do you know who this is? This is Anthony Robbins. Okay. Renowned speaker and all that, right? So, he is attending the same atas cocktail party. So he's mingling around, talking to you and various people. So what do you think his favorite topic would be? What do you think his favorite topic would be? Type into the chat box, what do you think it would be? Knowing his background, knowing his expertise. Personal development, Kumar says. Unleash your personal power. Wow, motivational topics. Yeah, you're right. So, the point I'm trying to get at here is this. Okay, we all have a personal brand. Okay, so like what Jeff Bezos here says, your brand is what people say about you when you are not in the room. Okay, so if we don't take charge of our own personal brand, other people will create it for us. Okay, so think about it. If we leave it to things being accidental, then what sort of brand other people will create may not be the brand that we want people to know us for, right? So we need to be very intentional in the way we position ourselves to other people. That is the main gist of today's session. Okay, we cannot leave things to chance. So what I'm going to talk about over the next few hours or the next couple of hours is really to help you try and make sure you are very intentional, you're very deliberate about your personal brand. Is that all right? Okay, so that's what we'll focus on. So next thing I want to ask you all is this. Okay, how can personal branding help you? You are the participant here, you joining in the workshop. How do you see personal branding helping you? Can you type into the chat box, please? So I get a sense of, what sort of things that, okay, Sepo says first impressions, reputation, Yvonne says. Okay, let me just show the chat so everybody can see. Okay, standing out, create good impression. Any others? Makes you stand out, yeah? Okay. Personal branding makes you stand out. People remember you, A sense of identity, so make people know who you are. Okay. Self-awareness, all that, very good. Okay. So it all depends really on your objective, right? It all depends on your objective and your goals. Okay. Different people have different ideas of what they want to do. Okay. So for example, if you're an entrepreneur or you're a business owner, like for myself, I am a business owner. This is my own practice, right? My goal would be what? My goal would be to try and make sure I get more clients, more awareness of what I'm doing, right? Then sometimes, I may want to position myself as an expert as well. Okay, so that once people know that I'm an expert in a particular area, okay, then, I might get more clients and that. Okay, now, what about, I think most of you here will probably come here as a job seeker. Okay, what would be the goal for job seekers in terms of personal branding? How will personal branding help a job seeker? Can you type in the chat box? What do you think it would be? For a job seeker, if you are a job seeker, how will personal branding help you? Okay, again, standing out. Floyd said, hire me, get noticed. Okay, stand out from others. Differentiate yourself from others. Okay, I want to be a little bit more specific here. Okay, a lot of things here are very good. I think like Doris says, to get an interview, which is roughly what I'm trying to get at. Okay, so personal branding here is really to help job seekers attract opportunities. Correct or not? The more opportunities you get, the better your chances of getting hired. Okay, so that is the key gist here. So today, this is the area I'm going to focus on for the next few hours. I always get few hours. We gotta get mixed up for the two-hour session. I mean the 6-hour session. All right. So I'm going to focus on how we track opportunities as a job seeker. All right. So this is the niche area I'm talking about. Is that all right? Okay. If this is okay, can you type yes into the chat box? It's okay. All right. I'll type a yes into the chat box. Okay. Very good. Thank you for agreeing, because this is a very niche area. Okay. Good. All right. Now, the other thing you all need to understand here is this. Okay. Yes, job seekers, for job seekers is a very important area, but especially if you are switching careers, all right, or if you are going after the hidden job market, having a strong personal brand helps all the more. Okay. So again, no, if you're looking at changing from one area to another, or if you're trying to identify jobs that are not advertised, having a personal brand, a very strong personal brand really helps a lot. Okay, so at the end of today's workshop, these are a few things I want you to take away. Okay, number one, how to best leverage your personal brand to your strengths and objectives. Okay, identify who can help you and what you can say. What best techniques there are to continuously develop your brand. Okay, so these are the 3 takeaways I want you to have at the end of today's session. Okay, so that's what I'm going to try. All right, so the topics, there are quite a lot of things to cover. All right, so I'm going to break it up into 4 stages: how to define, how to communicate, how to manage, and then we'll round it off with a summary. All right, now, this is something I started in my last workshop, and which I've never done before. So those of you who have been will be able to know, right? Towards the end of my session, all right, I'm going to give you a couple of bonus tips as to what you can do to follow on after the workshop. Okay, so if you stay on to the end, hopefully you can see that. Now, given that this is only a 2-hour session, right? So I can't give you too many breaks in between. But what I'll try to do is give you a break at least somewhere along the halfway mark, at least a stretch break, so you can go and do what you need to do. Okay. Now, and also because this is a webinar, I think now we have about 110 people on board. Okay. I was told that the registration is about 230. So there are going to be a lot of you on board. So you'll notice that I have muted every one of you so that there are no distracting background sounds. All right. So if you want to ask a question, please type into the chat box, right, what the question is. Before your question, you put down the capital letter Q. So when I scan through the chat box again, I can very easily spot, all right, that question itself. And I'll try to answer that question at the end of every section. Is that okay? Is that all right? Okay, let me just see. I think I saw one. Okay. I think Ajay is asking, can you also cover how to assess the current brand impression we create briefly? Okay, I'm gonna try that as well. Okay, but like I said, lots to cover. So I believe I would be able to cover your question as well, Ajay. All right. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so the first things first. All right, let's go on to defining what a personal brand is. Okay. Oh, Anji is really our first question. How can we differentiate, identify a USP versus strength? We are going to cover that. Anji, okay, we are going to cover that. Thank you. So let's define first. What is personal brand? How does it play for us? Okay, so we're going to talk about the job search process first of all. Okay, the job search process. Now, those of you who are looking for a job, or maybe even those that are not currently looking, I think this is still important to you. Generally speaking, the job search process can be broken down into 4 stages. Okay, what are the 4 stages? Okay, so you obviously have to know yourself, right? Know your strengths. Maybe Angie will come to your point in a little while. Know the world of work. WOW stands for the world of work. All right, and then we talk about strategy. How are you going to go out and touch or reach out to the opportunities out there? And then the final part is really how we connect with the employers. Okay, now let me ask you this. There are stages 1, 2, 3, and 4. Most of the time they're sequential. Okay, now At which stage does personal brand come in? Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? Can you type into the chat box? Which stage do you think personal brand comes in? Okay, some say 1, some say 3. A lot of people say all 1, 1, 1. Okay, all the way actually. Okay, 2. All right. Okay. I don't know whether it will shock you or maybe it will surprise you, right? But essentially for job seekers, okay, FlexiG, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, except 4. All right, for job seekers, essentially personal branding comes at the last 2 stages, 3 and 4. Now, a lot of you said 1 and 2. Okay, now let me tell you that knowing yourself and knowing the world of work are very, very important stages that will help you craft your personal brand. Okay, so but the impact of the personal brand, the way you people know about you, really comes into stage 3 and 4. And why do we say that? Okay, essentially stage 3 and 4 are those points that you see. Okay, you differentiate yourself and you brand and present yourself under the strategy part. All right, so I think coming back to one of the questions, how do we differentiate ourselves, which we'll talk about. Okay, then the last part, or the last mile that we always say, where this is where we also go and we go and build network, and this is where we also customize the way we reach out to others and how we gain experience. So in essence, the impact and the mechanics of the personal branding for job seekers really come in the 3rd and 4th stages, but the first 2 stages are very, very important for you to be able to craft your own brand. Okay, so all right, so in a sense, those of you who said 1, 2, 3, and 4 is okay, but then the where it contributes is slightly different. Are you okay with this? All right. So first thing here is really to understand at which stage does personal branding come into play as far as the job search process is concerned. All right. So the next part here is really looking at what are we trying to achieve. Okay, what is our goal? So here, I think we all need to understand, like just now, that little Q&A I just conducted earlier on, what are how will personal brand help you? What are your goals or your objectives? I see a lot of people having different things. So now I want to drill it down to be as specific as possible. Okay, so this is where, if you have a piece of paper with you, or you can type in the screen or whatever, or maybe you do a screenshot and do it later, right? This is where you start thinking, okay, what is my goal? What am I trying to achieve as a job seeker? So here, you talk about what jobs you want, what industry you want, okay? Sometimes maybe even location, right? Don't say Jurong or Orchard Road lah, okay? Maybe some of you may want to work in other countries. All right, I've come across clients and workshop participants who said that. By when? Okay, again, here we have to be not only very specific, but also be a bit realistic. Don't say ASAP. ASAP is very vague. Okay, so by when do you want to get all those things? Is it 6 months? Is it 3 months? Okay, so you need to put it down somewhere on a piece of paper that you can reflect upon when you are looking at this personal branding exercise. Are we okay so far? Okay, so be very clear about what your goals are as far as your career, your job search is concerned. Okay, right. So next thing here. So we've done the knowing which stage of the job search process is. We took a look at what your goals are. Now let's take a look at your positioning. Okay, I think this is coming back to one of the earlier questions about positioning and how we differentiate ourselves. Okay, so this is the start of the exercise. All right, so if we look at our positioning, essentially we are looking at 4 components, right? So we have what other people's perception of you, who you really are, what you are good at, and also your reputation. So these are the 4 components, right? So a lot of them, I mean, you can say that some of them overlaps, all right? But essentially, we can look at these 4 components, okay? So if we look at these 4 components, okay, let's focus on those 2 in the red, you see, okay? Your reputation and what you are good at. Let's focus on that for the next few minutes, Okay, now I'm going to go back to this notion that Jeff Bezos says, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Okay, so how do we know what people tell us, or how do we know what people think of us when we are not there to hear them say it? All right, so I guess there's lots of ways to do it, but the simplest way, and I believe many of you would have done this, is really go and ask your best friend. Google, right? Ask your best friend. Now, normally when I do this exercise in my workshop, I get people to pair up with each other. Okay? And when they pair up, I ask them to Google each other's name and then tell each other what do they find from the internet. Okay, so but this is what most people do nowadays. Okay, and I'm sure a lot of you Google maybe your potential partner's name or your potential partner, boyfriend, girlfriend name before you actually be serious about them, right? Okay, so but in this exercise, okay, you can Google yourself first, right? Maybe you can later on ask a close buddy or close friend or your spouse to actually help you with this exercise. Okay, so after Googling your name, take a look at what's the first impression in the first page. What are you known for, essentially? Okay, what did you find from the internet about your name? Okay. Now, let me share you a funny story. One of the days when I did this in a live workshop, I broke people into pairs. Okay, and they did this little exercise, and there was this two guys. One of them was very worried, and when he was doing this exercise, then he told me, "Hey, my partner, when I Googled him, the internet showed that he had a prison record. So he was very worried. Wow, how come? What's happening here?" Then but his partner said, no, I'm innocent. I never have all these things. No. So, and you end up, I then asked the guys, what is your name? And the guy said his name is Adrian Lim. Oh, okay. So I don't know whether there's any Adrian Lims here. So those of you who are in my generation, you know Adrian Lim committed a very serious crime previously, right? Okay. So, I mean, no fault of the guy, right? He just so happened to have the same name as somebody else who had a very bad reputation. So then people's impression is, hey, is he that same person? Okay, so I think it's very useful for you to go through the same exercise and ask somebody else maybe to do it with you and ask them to tell you what their impression is from the Google search results. All right. So does that, whatever they think about your impression, their impression of you from the internet search, does that match with what you want to be known as, what your desired personal brand is? You got to ask yourself that. Okay, so that's the first thing. So that's like benchmarking. Okay, so do that. All right. So ideally, there's always this thing, right? How you see yourself. You always see yourself as a person, a certain type of person. Then there's always another impression, how other people see you. Okay, sometimes the gap is quite big. Sometimes there's no gap. So the ideal situation here is that it should overlap. And that overlapping would be your personal brand. Okay? So think about it. So do this particular exercise. Maybe after this particular workshop, ideally do it with a friend or somebody you trust. And get them to tell you what is the impression. Because in today's world, all right, I know in the old days, internet also not such a big deal, so we won't be able to do this. But now, the first impressions are usually found online. Okay, so we can't get away from such reality already. So I think this is something we need to understand. Are we okay? All right. So this is one particular exercise you can do to try and understand other people's impression of you. Okay. So now let's take a look at the other two components. Okay, Yvonne, I'm going to tell you, I'll give a little tip at the end, okay, about whether there's going to be a replay or not. So hopefully you can stay towards the end. Now, the other two components here is this. We're going to talk about who you are and others' perception of you. All right. I want to show you a short video which I thought is very interesting and at the same time quite funny as well. So you take a look at the video and tell me what is the impression, okay?
Venn diagrams are perfect for explaining my career path. one of the few comics working in Venn diagrams. So the reason I became an engineer was because of two things. I was good at two things. I had math skills and I was good at problem solving. And when you're good at those two things, no guidance counselor ever says you should be a comedian. They would be fired. So they said you should be an engineer, so I became an engineer. Makes perfect sense, right? Over here, if you got people skills, you're good with people, and you're good at problem solving, you're probably going to go into management, right? Makes perfect sense. Over here, if you got OCD, everything has to be exactly right. And you're good at math, you are an accountant, is what you are. The accountants were high-fiving over there. I have never seen an accountant high-five. Yes, he got us right. That joke adds up perfectly. Because that is accountants, though. They can't solve any problems, but they can identify them. That's an accountant. An accountant will go, you got to fix this. Over here, if you're into drinking and you have people skills, you're in sales, what you are. Like a salesman? That's always the loudest yell. Without fail, they are the loudest. Over here, if you're heartless and you have OCD, you're in human resources. No heart whatsoever. And if you're heartless and into drinking, you're a lawyer.
Okay, hopefully I didn't offend any accountants or lawyers or engineers or whatever, but I thought that was interesting. At the end of the day, how you present yourself, it comes down to a lot of different combination of things, right? What job you do, what skills you have, right? And in many cases, what's your image, your mission, your values, your vision are some of the important things. Like I told you, I am not a personal branding guru. So yes, these things are very, very important, but I want to boil it down to a very simple step, a very simple way to capture the key elements of who you are. Okay, so essentially what I'm telling you is that one component of what brand you present yourself out there is really how you help people. Okay, the way you help people would give others an impression of you. Okay, and the way you go about helping people is really a combination of all those circles you see at the bottom. Okay, so let's focus on this part, how you help people. All right, so that is the key thing here. Huh? So I want to sort of make sure that you understand the basics first, because, and this is something that I shared with people who attended my past workshops before, but I always want to come back to this, and even if you have attended my workshop, I always want to give you a strong reminder. Okay, employers by nature are risk averse. They don't want to take risks. Okay, so they always hire the best people they can find. Correct? Okay, so that is the key thing here. So we have to understand that because they are risk averse, okay, we have to be an asset. We cannot be a risk. So we want to minimize the risk to the employers. Correct? And the best way to become an asset, is that we help solve their problems. Okay, so think about this. Employers by nature don't like to take risks. So because of that, they want to hire the best person they can find. Okay, so they want to have someone who can help them immediately when they step into the company. Okay, and the best way then you can position yourself as a person who can help them is to be able, as someone who is able to solve their immediate problem. Okay, so have that as a framework in your mind. Okay, this would apply not only to personal branding, but in general, in many, many cases as a job seeker. Okay, so remember that. Then the next question you ask yourself, or maybe ask me, okay, then how do I become a problem solver? What do I say? What do I do? Okay, so I'm going to share with you an approach which I've shared in many workshops and it's worked with all my clients. So I'm going to do it today. Very simple way, but it takes a little bit of thinking on your part. Okay, something that you need to do when you, maybe you do it in the next 5 minutes or when you go after this workshop. Okay, so it's really talking about what problems you solve and how you can do it. Okay, So I'm going to give you a few examples. Then you see where it takes you. So I will solve your high staff turnover issue. Wow, big problem, right? So how do I do it? I have extensive people management experience and a successful track record of building effective teams. Very good. Okay, what is the next problem? I can help you expand your brand presence internationally with a lower marketing budget. Okay, I can solve that problem for you. How do I do this? In my previous roles, I leverage on non-traditional marketing strategies which had greater returns on investment and impactful results. Okay, you see the process. Okay, hopefully you see the trend. I will increase the quality of your customers or your student intake. Okay, how do I do this? In my past roles, I move my customer base to a higher level by recrafting, redoing outreach messages and targeting the right segments. Okay, so all these statements or actual statements that I help my clients come up with. Right now, how do they then actually craft these statements? Is really using a very simple template which I'm going to share with you now. Okay. By the way, if you want to take a screenshot of these examples, by all means do so. Okay. So, but it's quite a simple exercise. So let me show you that particular template. Okay. So basically, it's a table which has got 3 columns. Okay. So my skills, the problem I solve, how I solve the problem. So let me share with you an example. Let's say you have very good people and team management skills. Okay. Those of you who have that, what are the problems you think you can solve? Can you type into the chat box? If you have very good people and team management skills, what are the problems you can solve? Can you type into the chat box? Think about this, especially for those of you who have these skills already. What are some of the problems you can solve? Conflicts, team motivation, harmony. Any others? Staff disagreement. So it's a lot of conflict resolution. Okay. So communication, inspiring and motivating the team. Yeah, very good. So those are some of the problems, right? So you can say, minimize or solve high staff turnover issue. Correct now? All right. So I think all those points that you mentioned, communication, engagement is a process, right? But what is the problem? Remember now, okay? What is the problem? What does a lack of communication, what does staff disagreement lead to? What problem do they create? So you have to think beyond those statements that you just made. Okay, what is the problem? All right. So here, some of those things that you mentioned in the chat box could lead to high staff turnover. So maybe the problem you solve is by solving this high staff turnover issue. Okay. Now, how do you do this? I do this by building effective team environment, focusing on bringing together individual strengths and motivating them in the right direction. Okay. So this is an example. Oh, okay. Colette, you say the wordings is pretty blurred. Do you all also see it quite blurred? Because on my test laptop is quite okay. I don't know whether everybody else is seeing okay. All right, good. So maybe Colette might be your network. All right. So I don't know how to solve the network problem, but I think hopefully it becomes clear later on for you. Okay. So this is a typical example, a template that you can use to craft your a problem-solving statement. Okay. So why don't you try it out now? Okay. Maybe in the next couple of minutes, take a look at this and then type it. Maybe if you like to share what your problem-solving statement is, maybe you can type into the chat box. But I want you to try at least one time now. Okay. So let's do this for the next couple of minutes. Then we come back and then we continue the session. Okay. So give it a try. And then if you would like to share in the chat box, by all means do so. So I'm going to leave this slide up. Then for the next couple of minutes, give you time to actually write it down.
nights in the middle of June. Heat waves been faking me out. Can't make you happier now. Usually I put something on TV, so we never think about you and me. But today I see our reflections clearly in Hollywood, laying on the screen. You just need a better life than this. You need something I can never give. Fake water all across the road. It's gone now, the night is come. But sometimes all I think about is you. Late nights in the middle of June. Heat waves been faking me out. Can't make you happier now. You can't fight it, you can't breathe.
Okay. Hopefully you had a chance to try it out. Okay, I saw a couple of people put down in the chat box. Okay, so Desmond, problem is work conflicts. All right, so facilitate a joint session to understand from both parties and mediate towards a common goal. Yep, fair enough. So you identify a particular incident, right? So that's what you can do. What maybe you can do further, Desmond, is really to expand beyond this and say, no, because depending on what the problem is for the client, okay? If let's say you can resolve work conflicts, the work conflicts can lead to what? Okay, can lead to maybe, like I said, staff turnover or maybe a very high stress rate and all that. Then you say how you solve the problem, that you are skilled in managing a team environment and all that. Okay, so Daniel, all right, Daniel was saying here, okay, let me just share the chat since everybody is there. Okay, people, okay, how I resolve, speak and understand the flow and idea of the job, distribution, tasks according to strengths, understanding the staff wants to try out new tasks assigned. Very good. Okay, so problem. Okay, again, Daniel, same thing here. The problem I solve, miscommunication. What does miscommunication lead to? Okay, so miscommunication is is something that's happening, but then what problem does it solve? Okay, so you got to identify the problem. You have to be able to separate the problem from the symptom that you are looking at. Okay, so all right, she is saying lead generation. Okay, I help businesses get more leads with low budget using effective online marketing strategies. Okay, so lead generation is your skill. So what is the problem? Okay, she's saying, okay, what is the problem you're solving? So the reason why I want you to be very explicit about the problem is, and then you start thinking from the employers, the company's point of view, not just your own point of view. Because now, let's say, for example, Shiwei, you're saying you're good at lead generation, but then how is that going to help the client? So the client, there must be a problem that helps the company, right? Okay, so the other one, Angie, my skill, persuasive communication skills, problem I solve, increase revenue for my team, how I solve the problem. Okay. So the problem is not to increase revenue. The problem is maybe the revenue is falling or whatever. Okay, or generate or to solve low revenue or solve low sales. Okay, so that is the problem. Okay. All right. Okay, so the least unhappiness due to opportunities they receive. Okay, such an unfair distribution. Okay, good. Strategic thinking, I facilitate decisions that address strategic growth ambitions for organization, in-depth analysis. Again, Ajay, I think you are describing the process you're doing it, but what is the problem that you are solving? Okay, now I really want you all to think in that term, because it is very important, because once you are able to think in terms of what problems you solve, you are thinking on the other side already. You're not thinking from your part. You are thinking how you can help them. Okay, so you gotta twist your mind around to say what is the problem that the other person is having. Then how can you help them? All right. So you always have to come from the other angle. Okay. I know sometimes maybe not so easy because we are so preoccupied with what we do and what we are good at. Okay. So really is looking at what the other person is suffering. Right? From there, then you say, oh, that person is suffering. How can I help that person? Okay, so Yvonne is asking a question. What is the meaning of the real problem? Okay, so let's say the real problem, the problem could be low sales turnover. Okay, low sales. Okay, so that is a problem. So sometimes we have to understand maybe the sales turnover could be low sales turnover could be due to quite a lot of reasons, right? Could be maybe the sales team is not being trained, or maybe they don't have the database for clients, or maybe they are just not closing the sales, or maybe they just don't have the right product. So the actual the discussed problem is low sales turnover, but what is the real problem? Is it the salesperson's skills? Is it the product is just not meeting the needs? Or is it that you just don't have the right client base? Okay, so that's what we mean by differentiating the real problem from the actual problem itself. Okay, all right. So good. I think we are on the right track. Huh? So let's carry on. I think I just want to make sure that we are on the right times track. Okay, so hopefully you can do that particular exercise, identify maybe 2 or 3 problems that you can solve. You can have maybe one skill set, and maybe that skill set can solve multiple problems, or maybe you have multiple skills that can solve multiple problems as well. Okay, but go through that process. Okay, go through the process, and then once you do that, then really you are crafting your unique selling point. This is where you differentiate yourself from other people already. Okay, so it comes back to I think it was Ajay, right? Ajay asked a question about how you differentiate yourself. So to me, this is really the fastest way and the easiest way for you to be able to differentiate yourself from other people. How can you solve their problem? How do you use your skills, your experience to help the other parties solve their problems? Okay, all right. So hopefully you all get me so far. Okay, all right. Any questions at this point? Okay, Angeline has got something that says, my skills, creativity, I help the product team to create more marketing collaterals to help sales communicate with the clients effectively and position the company's brand in the market. Very good, Angeline. You are describing your skills and how you use the skills. Okay, problem, lack of content. Okay, very good. So, you've identified the problem, which is the lack of content. Okay, good. All right, so let's move on. So you have identified all the 4 components that helps people know what you are, what your positioning is, how you help people. All right. So over the last few slides, we essentially went through 3 items. Okay, understanding how a personal brand helps in the job search process, looking at the way. Looking at what you are trying to achieve as far as your career is concerned, okay, and then also looking at what you are known for. How can you position yourself? Okay. Okay, Daniel asks, how do we tell people that we are good at these areas without looking like we are boasting? Well, Daniel, I think at the end of the day, I know sometimes maybe because our Asian culture is that we don't like to boast too much. Okay, but sometimes also we need to be a little bit more proactive in positioning ourselves. Okay, obviously maybe it's a way you craft your elevator pitch, your personal pitch, which actually I'll show you later on. Okay, but it's also about how you present yourself online. Okay, and there's lots of ways, which again I'll go through in more detail in my future slides in this session itself. Okay, so hold your horses, Daniel. All right. Okay, Dion asks, where does the problem identification come in our resume, or the problem is just part of the thought process to reach our positioning? Dion, you hit the nail on the head. It is part of the thinking process to help you reach your positioning, okay? But at the same time, once you understand that, you can actually craft it, because right, the resume has to be customized to every job application. So let's say, for example, you apply for a job to company ABC. I use this example, Amazon Singapore. This is my favorite example because I had a client who actually approached them and he got a job with them. Okay, Amazon Singapore, when they first started coming in, what would be their problem in coming to Singapore? Their problem would be how to set up a regional distribution hub. Okay, so once you do your research on the company, you know what they are trying to do, then when you apply for a job to them, okay, in your resume and the way you answer the interview question, you specifically put down that aspect in your resume that you have done it before. Okay, so if you have solved their problem before, highlight it into your resume. So that's where it comes in, right? But before you do that, you have to know that is something you can do. Okay, Dion, hope I answered that question for you. Okay, so these 3 items basically means you are in a better position to leverage on your personal brand to your strengths and your objectives. So that's the first takeaway that hopefully you get from there. Okay. All right. So thank you, Chris. So we are okay with this part. All right. So this is about defining the personal branding process. Okay. The personal branding process. Okay. So let's move on to the next portion, which is how we communicate our personal brand. This is the bulk of the session today. Yeah. So we're on the right track. Okay. So let me just click on that. All right. When we are communicating our brand, okay, remember what I said, right? We are wanting to attract opportunities because we are job seekers. So we want to attract job opportunities. And what is the best way to attract opportunities? Now, I alluded that just now, okay? It is about what? It is about making your brand visible. And the best way to make it visible is to be seen as a problem solver. And really, at the end of the day, it's really looking at how you build relationships. Okay. And during those relationship building stages, telling people who you are. Okay. So that's what I'm going to deal with in this next probably half an hour. Okay. Probably half an hour or so. Okay. So this is the focus. All right. So how we communicate our brand to everybody. Okay. Right. I'll bet all of you got at least 2 accounts in either one of these, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Tinder, or Instagram. Okay, so we are living in a WTF generation, right? WTF, I think it stands for WhatsApp, Telegram, and Facebook. So, or Tinder, even if T is the right one. Okay, so here we cannot get away from this fact. Okay, most of the time people will see us from the way we interact in the social media channels. Okay, so that is a reality now. Okay, so why do I say this? Why do I say, especially as a job seeker, this is a really important thing to remember. Okay, so remember I said employees are risk averse. Okay, if they are risk averse, that means they really want to know as much about you as possible before they actually call you up. Okay, so here, nearly all recruiters use LinkedIn. All right, I think you all know this. Okay, but over 40% also say that they search on Twitter and Facebook and maybe other channels as well. Okay, so that is the key thing here, right? Vast majority, almost 95% of hiring managers review the candidates' social profiles even before making contact. Think about this. They look at you before talking to you. And why do they do this? They do this to determine what professional experience you have. What connections, especially mutual connections. Okay, this becomes very important because if the hiring manager or the recruiter knows someone that knows you, makes them feel more comfortable. They can ask that person. Okay, obviously they also look at it in terms of your previous work and your fit. Okay, so very, very important. So this is the reason why we need to manage our interaction on all the social media channels that we are on right now. Okay, so very important. Okay, now I want to address the elephant in the room. There you go, Chris. Thank you so much. If the hiring manager did not find anything online, does it affect his perception? What do you guys think? Tell me, if you are the hiring manager and you do a search, whether it's LinkedIn or anywhere else, right? And you cannot find Chris Chua's name on any social media. What sort of impression is it giving to you as a hiring manager? Can you tell me? Can you put into the chat box what sort of impression? Risk alert, not tech savvy, not well known. Hiring manager, you're not social media savvy, okay? Any other impressions? I mean, generally speaking, right? Oh dear, lives in a stone age. You have things to hide. Now think about it. All these comments are negative comments, right? Now, none of them are positive comments, All right. So things like whether you have something to hide, you're not tech savvy, not sociable, you are recluse, you're not up to date. You are a mystery. Okay, there's one that says discreet and careful. That's a positive comment. Fair enough. Okay, but generally speaking, the majority of impressions are really more on the negative side. Okay, So the thing I'm trying to tell you, Chris, is this, okay? I'm not telling all of you, this applies to everyone, not just Chris alone. Huh? I'm not asking you all to go all out and blast all the social media channels and become like an influencer or whatever. Now, influencer sounds like a disease, right? But like an influencer, okay? So I'm not asking you all to do this. What I'm suggesting here is that whatever media presence you have, you need to be a little bit more savvy and manage this so that when people search you up, okay, when people search you up, they create the impression that you want them to see. Because the reality is this, the recruiters, the hirers, the employers will look at social media, okay, to do that. So that is a reality here. Whether we like it or not, that is a reality. So now, then some of you may be asking, what media channel should I use? Now, this all depends on the industry that you want to go into. All right. So if you want to go into those creative channels or the media channels, or maybe you want to go into an industry or a role that appeals to the young people, then maybe the what is the in thing now for young people? It's TikTok, right? TikTok lah, Instagram lah, Twitter lah, that sort of thing, right? Facebook becomes blasé already. My son, he's 26, he doesn't use Facebook anymore. And I tell him, hey, how come you didn't see that thing I posted on Facebook? And he said, Daddy, I'm not on Facebook anymore. It's like the old thing already. Okay. So it all depends on where you want to go, what industry you are going to. Okay. So, but in general, I'm going to just select one platform, which is LinkedIn. Okay, because that is the platform that I just mentioned earlier on that most recruiters tend to use for business. Okay, and so so this is probably quite relevant to most of you all. Okay, but whatever I say here could also possibly apply to other channels as well. Okay, some key points for you to consider. Okay, but this is not a LinkedIn workshop. And there's a lot of information. So I just want to highlight to you some basic approaches to LinkedIn. Is that all right? Okay, so I'm just focusing on LinkedIn for the next few slides. And this will help you to reinforce and elevate your personal brand as a job seeker. So remember, you are positioning yourself as a job seeker. Okay, so first of all, creating awareness. Okay, creating awareness. What can we do to create awareness on a LinkedIn profile? Essentially, LinkedIn, those of you who have already got a profile, that you all know about the first top half of the profile, the about section, is actually very, very important. Okay, so this is where you have an opportunity to talk more about yourself, your passion, what motivates you, and all that. Now, many people I see actually waste that, don't use it well enough because they repeat what they have done. So it's almost like a resume. They put the resume inside the about section, right? I suggest you don't do that because it's a waste. Try and put things that, tell people who you are, what you're passionate about, what motivates you, what problems you solve. Okay? So that is the part that you should use for. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy to do that because sometimes it takes a bit of effort, and the way to do it is maybe to look at some other people, how they do it, right? Maybe even look up those target jobs, people who are working the target jobs that you want to go into, and see how they do it. And then just try and modify and copy what they say, what you think is good, and then just put it in there. Okay? Always fine tune. Okay? So that's one. Next thing here is after the about section, right at the bottom, the next portion below, right, is then your experience, the experience section. So a lot of time people just put down the resume, okay, all the work experience and all that, which is fine. Okay. Now, if you are a career switcher, all right, or somebody who has a gap and all that and coming back into the industry, now another perhaps more powerful way of presenting yourself is instead of putting down your entire work history. Okay. Now, I think a lot of you who maybe have got very long work experience, you have a temptation, put down everything down there. Okay, so that I think the idea here is that you want to impress people with volume, which is okay, but to a certain extent. More importantly is to make what you put down there relevant to what you are trying, what job you're trying to get into, or what target industry you want to get into. Make it more relevant. Okay, so choose the relevant experiences, and from there, in the relevant experiences, you try and put in your accomplishments in a more problem-solving statement like what we did just now. Okay. Next thing here, building recommendations. Okay, so LinkedIn has a process where you can get the people that you know or people who know you to ask them to write a recommendation for you. Now, some of you may be asking, hey, but then how do I do this? I mean, people may not want to do this for me. Fair enough. They will not do it for you if they don't know you. And if they don't know you, then why are you approaching them to write recommendations for yourself? Doesn't make sense, right? So you will only approach people that know you. Okay? So that is the thing here. All right? Approach people that know you, right? So they are perhaps more willing to write this recommendation for you. Okay? So, and sometimes it's even better when they tell you, oh, why don't you just draft it up for me and then I'll endorse it or whatever. So that's even better. Then you just write what you want them to write. All right, then you send it to them and then they do it for you. Okay? All right, so there was a question here from Angie. On average, I stayed on jobs 3 to 5 years, but there were 2 organizations I stayed in less than a year. Slightly embarrassed to list these 2. How can I overcome this? Hence, I never update LinkedIn. Okay, Angie. Now, the first thing here is this. It's not about how long you stay in the industry, because nowadays, it's actually very common for people to switch jobs a year or 2. In the past, no, but now it's actually common. It all depends on the industry. It all depends on why you change. But more importantly is, what did you do while you are there? Okay, because if you did something that positions yourself very well with the next person, the next company, then it's worthwhile putting it in there. Okay, so this is something that you need to look at very carefully. There's no de facto rule to say that, oh, I don't put in anything that's less than 1 year or 1 year. So no, there's no de facto rule there. You have to look at what did you do during that short experience. Is that all right, Angie? Okay. All right. So building recommendations. Next one, okay, is looking at marketing yourself on LinkedIn. Okay, so here, LinkedIn has a very interesting feature which allows you to join groups, discussion groups, and it allows you to follow companies that maybe you want to join next time, you want to work for next time, or at least, in the same industry. Okay, and why do you think this is important? Why do you want to join these groups and consciously follow these target companies? Well, let me tell you this. LinkedIn, maybe some of you know this already, but LinkedIn has a algorithm. Okay, when you join these groups, when you follow these companies, it establishes that you are interested in these jobs or in these roles or in this industry. So LinkedIn has an algorithm that actually pulls your name out. Okay, if let's say, okay, in this instance, you can see the example there. I follow Procter & Gamble, all right, and then the pharmaceutical companies. So if the recruiter comes in and he's looking for someone, maybe he's working for Procter & Gamble, or maybe he's looking for jobs to fill in the FMCG area. He does a search in LinkedIn. Chances are of me appearing probably towards the top of his search result is high because I'm following Procter & Gamble. And obviously there are other reasons, there are other complementary algorithms like, whether I have the right skill sets in the area as well. Okay, so the gist of this is that by doing what I've suggested here, it increases your chances of being pulled up when somebody does a search in that area for candidates. Okay? So this is something maybe not many people know, but I want to make sure that all of you know this. Okay, Chris was saying, you follow the groups in alphabetical, knowing they will be put up first. To be honest, Chris, I don't know whether being in alphabetical order makes any impact or not. But I think, it does make sense that you actually follow the same consistent group of companies. Okay, I think that's more important. Okay, so that's my sense. Okay. All right. Now, the other interesting feature that LinkedIn has, which is very, very powerful for our personal branding efforts, is really where we start talking about articles, how we express ourselves in the LinkedIn profile. So here we're talking about writing articles or sharing articles. Okay, so now I mean, if you are good at writing things, by all means write articles that tell people what areas you're interested in or what areas you're good in, you're expert in. Okay, if you're not so comfortable writing articles, then you share articles from other sources, but put in your thoughts and your comments so that it reinforces your credibility and tells people, the areas that you're interested in. So this is a very, very powerful way that LinkedIn has. Now, if you have not done this, I do suggest and encourage you to actually start thinking of this process. Is that all right? So that is a key thing here. Okay. So we talked about LinkedIn, how we create awareness, how we define ourselves on that platform. But there's also this other feature in LinkedIn that helps us build connections. Build connections. Okay. Sorry if I'm boiling this down to becoming like a LinkedIn workshop. It is not meant to be. Yeah. So very quickly, I'll move beyond LinkedIn in the next few slides. Okay. So building connections. Okay. So I think all of you know, right? So you can connect up with people, whether it's on LinkedIn or other platforms, in your target company, connect up with your friends, people who are working in the same role that you want to work in, your industry peers, your colleagues, okay, your alumni, old school friends. Okay, so let me ask you this. Out of all those groups of people, can you tell me which is the easiest to connect up with? Which group is the easiest for you to connect up with first? You type into the chat box. Okay, she said friends, yeah. Okay, colleagues as well, very close, right? So I always ask, first thing you do if you want to build connections is to approach your friends and colleagues and alumni. Okay, alumni. So essentially, you're looking at, in terms of ease of connection, is this. Friends, very easy to connect. Okay, colleagues, industry peers, people who the 3, 4, and 5 is probably a little bit more difficult. You do a little bit more work, which I'll share with you in a little while. Okay. Regarding building connection, do we also connect to anyone who wants to connect up with us? Yvonne, that is $1 million question because I get connection requests all the time. It all depends on the objective you want to achieve. Okay, so in my case, because I want to achieve this notion that I want to be known as an expert in something, so I'm okay to receive connections from most people. However, I am very careful as well because nowadays, you all know, right? There are a lot of bogus LinkedIn IDs. Okay, so and I don't know why LinkedIn is now becoming a dating site already. Being a dating site, people come in and say, "Oh, I like to know you better," and all that. Wow, I tell you, those I switch off. And the way I can tell is I look at their background. Have they signed up for LinkedIn maybe in the last 6 months or so? What, how many people they know and all that. If they are saying that, hey, I mean, you can sense once you do it more often, anyway, even if you connected with them and then later on they write to you and you feel that something is not right, you can always cut the connection. Okay, so I don't see any harm in that, okay, but always, it all depends on what you're trying to achieve. Okay, all right. So I want to address this notion, networking, because since we are talking about building relationships, right? Networking. We all know networking is the number one way to find a job. Correct now? We all know this, right? Everybody has told us this, right? Every coach that you've probably been with will tell you, oh, you must network and all that. Now, let me tell you this. How many of you really, really like to network? Or maybe I flip it around. How many of you who doesn't like or find it very awkward to do networking or go to a network? You type in the chat box if you feel that, no, it's not something that I want to do and all that. Okay, so if whenever you do a survey, I did a short survey amongst my clients before. Okay, most people okay, maybe it's not right to say most people. That was a few years ago. Many people don't like to do networking. They don't like to do networking. Okay? For those of you who doesn't like networking, why do you feel that way? Why do you feel that way? Can you type into the chat box, why do you feel that you don't like to network? Those of you who have some concerns about it. Or maybe you know people who don't like. Why don't like to network? Don't like to make small talk, Yosepo says. Any others? Awkward, could be awkward. Some people are fake, not genuine. People perception, they have an agenda. I think I saw a comment down there that says they like insurance salespeople. Sorry if I offend any insurance salespeople here, but that is the impression that people get. Okay, so here the thing here is this: when for most of the time, right, when we are consciously trying to network, for those of us who are concerned about this, usually it's boiled down to this. There's too much pressure when we go and consciously network, right? Or we always say, oh, I must achieve this, I must achieve this. Okay, so it puts a lot of pressure on you, but not only on you, but also on the other party as well. Okay, so then you tend to come out as not being authentic, not real. Somebody was saying, not natural. Okay, now what if I were to tell you? Okay, there's another. If you look at it in a very different way. Actually, maybe those concerns doesn't matter, doesn't come up anymore. And what is this different way? Okay. How about looking at it not as a networking event, but as a relationship building opportunity? Okay? Build relationships. And what do we mean by this? If you look at this, you can do online, offline networking. Okay? Networking nowadays can be done online as well. Now, if you look at this, many people, especially those of us who don't like to network, we may put ourselves under a lot of pressure when we meet somebody new for the first time and we tell ourselves, I must get a job from this guy. Those things in the red box. I must get promoted. Okay, I must find a solution. So when you're focused on those items in the red box, you put a lot of pressure on yourself. Sometimes you force things through. Okay, so that is something that's not, and it becomes not genuine anymore. Okay, what happens if you focus on the yellow box? Think about this. If you focus on developing a relationship, building a connection with that person, you want to, I won't say friends, okay, maybe friends is too strong a word, but you want to understand that person, you want to help that person, you want to support, you want to connect up with that person. So in other words, you're building a relationship, right? Okay. If you focus on those things in a yellow box, you won't put so much pressure on yourself because it's just like meeting another person. Okay. It's just like meeting another person. You are thinking, oh, nice to see you. What do you do? What do you like to do and all that. So you're not thinking about those things in the red box and saying, oh, will this person be able to give me a job? Will this person be able to get me promoted or not? That sort of thing. No. Then you move away from focusing on yourself, because when you think of those things in the red box, you're thinking about yourself, what you will gain. Okay? Because at the end of the day, you need to look at it from another point of view. It's a bit like looking at job search. You have to look at it from the employer's point of view. When you're networking, you have to look at it from the other person's point of view. Okay? It is not about you. Okay? It is about how you can help them. Ta-da! Think about this. Okay? It is not about you. It is about how you can help them. Okay? Well, Lai Feng Chun. Very good example. New neighbor greet each other and ended up recommending me to do a house painting. Simple networking is also networking. Yeah. That's why I said, some people say networking is like a 4-letter word. It's like a new 4-letter word. So rather than sort of trying to get people to think of it in a different way, maybe focus on something different. Okay, focus on something different. Okay, I saw a question just now. Let me just come back to this. Okay, let me see. Okay, question from Jordan. A trainer from a tertiary institution said one is required to have at least 500 connections or more because recruiters use this as a filter. Jordan, I'm not sure whether to what extent this still holds true. It could be previously, but I think it also depends on your industry. So let's say, for example, if you're in an industry where it focuses on exposure, publicity, media engagement, and all that, then probably the more connections you have, it will help. Or if that person, or if you're looking at a sales role, and the sales role depends, your success as a salesperson depends on your network, then obviously they will see, well, how big is your network? Then obviously the numbers are there. Okay, so it all depends on your role. Okay, what are you trying to achieve? However, if you are looking at but at the end of the day, it's about quality. Okay, I think Desmond says here. Okay, quality is actually more important because, which I'll show you later on. Sometimes people judge you based on the quality of your network. Okay, I'll share with you that later on. Okay, Jordan, I hope that answers your question. Huh? Okay, right. So we're talking about relationship building. Okay, so I want to highlight a few things here. Okay, when you are building relationships, what are some of the things you should not do? What are some of the things you should not do? Can you type into the chat box? What do you think are some of the things you should not do when you're building relationships? Bad mouthing, right? Any others? Ask too much personal info, especially at the early stage, right, Daniel? Yeah. Any others? Gossip. Well, actually, some people like gossip. All right. Now let's focus this down on LinkedIn. Okay, well, since we're on this topic about the LinkedIn, what do you think you should not do when you're trying to connect up with someone on LinkedIn itself? Okay, Jillian says ask for favors, hard selling, expecting, boasting, spamming. Okay, very good. So let me share with you a few key points that I've come across, which I always highlight to my clients. Okay, please don't use LinkedIn as a dating site. Okay, please don't use LinkedIn as a dating site. Okay, no matter how attractive the other person is. Okay, that should not be on your mind when you connect out with them. Huh? When you are trying to connect out with someone, all right, when you send a connection request, don't use a standard LinkedIn statement. Modify it, type it in so that it becomes something that the person that you're trying to connect up with sees sense. Okay, whether it's maybe somebody in the same industry or somebody refer you to him and all that. Okay. All right. So don't sales pitch during the introduction. Okay, I'm sure a lot of you come across this, right? So whether you don't go in and say I want to sell you this or I have something to offer you, just hit me up or contact. Okay. Or the last one here, somebody mentioned already, don't be pushy or insistent. If the person is not forthcoming, he doesn't want to connect, then that's fine. Leave it alone. Don't keep spamming and repeating the request. Okay, so Chris has asked a question. WhatsApp used more frequently than LinkedIn. WhatsApp is a communication channel, true, Chris. LinkedIn is a bit more than just a communication channel. LinkedIn is a brand building, it's telling people who you are. So it's not just about chatting with someone else. Okay, so they work in different ways. Okay, so it should not be one versus the other. Okay, all right. Okay, time now is 3:15. So let's take a short break. Let's take a short break and then we come back in 5-minute break. All right, and then we come back and then I'll move on to the remaining part of today's workshop. Is that all right? Okay, so I see you guys in 5 minutes. Okay. Hope everyone had a good stretch break or toilet break or whatever break that you're having. Okay, I'm going to try and finish this by maybe about 4:05, 4:10. Okay, so because usually the last few minutes, many of you want to ask maybe generic questions. Okay, so I'm going to try and finish by then. So let's move on. So I've been talking about in this portion on how we communicate our personal brand, right? So how we build relationships using LinkedIn, how we position ourselves using LinkedIn and all that. So the communication part. So now I want to sort of go a little bit deeper into what are the actual things that we can do in terms of action. Okay, actually doing something. All right. So the three things that I'm going to talk about are really creating a map, identifying targets, and then actually how we attack them. Attack in inverted commas. Okay, so first of all, I want to talk about a map. Okay, so those of you who have been in my previous workshops before, you know what I'm talking about here. But for the benefit of those of you who have not, so essentially I'm talking about a network map. Okay, what do we mean by network map? Basically, it's really consciously listing down who you know and how you know them and how they can help you. Okay, some of you may say, wow, this takes a lot of effort, right? But believe you me, if you don't know who your people are and how they can help you, then you're missing out on a big opportunity to leverage on who your relationships are. Okay, so I want to introduce a couple of terms. Right? First of all, the term is called affinity. So affinity here basically means interest. Okay, whether there's high or low interest in your success. Okay, so can you give me an example of someone who would have a very high interest in your career success? Who would typically be that person who has a very high interest in you being successful in your career? Who do you think would have a very high interest? Family, parents, ex-boss, that's very good. Spouse, yeah, okay. So, this is very important. You need to know who has high interest in you. Okay. Now, then the other one is reach. Reach here we're talking about influence. Okay. So who has a stronger influence or who has weak influence in helping you reach your career objective? Okay, so these two areas, these two terms, it's something that you need to consider. Somebody who has high or low interest in your success and somebody who has got very strong influence, the ability to impact your career very dramatically. Okay, so these two areas. So how are we going to combine this together? How are we going to combine this together? So this is where we come up with a little graph. Now we all like graphs, right? So this is one graph that we can use. So this axis here, vertical axis is reach. Okay, that means people who has influence. Okay, affinity, people who have high interest in you. Okay, so obviously with this type of graph, you know there are boxes in each area, right? So let's talk about this. Okay, so in the top left corner, you will see, let me just, can you see the mouse? Can't see the mouse. Okay, so the top left corner, which is low affinity, high influence. So basically it means somebody who maybe not so much interest in your success, but who has got a good ability to impact your success, high influence. Maybe he's got very good networks or connections. Okay, then in the yellow box, that means in the top right hand corner. Okay, so it could be persons who have got, well, this would be the ideal, right? You know, people who are very strongly interested in your success and who also have a very high degree of influence in the area that you want to go into. So that it's like a gold mine, right? So if you know people in the area, you better list this down. Okay. Then at the bottom right hand corner, high affinity, low influence. So it will be people who have high interest in your success. Okay, but maybe not a lot of ability to impact your career. Right? And then the orange box at the bottom left corner. Many of you may think, well, no use, all these people, no interest in my success, has also got no ability to influence my career. So these are people that, no point knowing them. Let me make you rethink this factor again. Okay, so first of all, hopefully you are clear about those 4 boxes. Okay, so the exercise here is for you, maybe after today's session, is to just list down who are the people you know in each of those boxes. It may not be complete, okay, but it's an exercise you can do as an ongoing process. Now, coming back to this notion, these people, those in the orange bottom left corner, the orange box, useless lah. I mean, I don't want to know anybody in there, or maybe you would say, actually most of the people I know are actually in the area. So does that mean that my network is lousy? Well, let me then introduce another set of terms for you. Levels. Okay, what are levels? First level, people you know directly. Okay, second level is people that you don't know directly, okay, but the people you know them. Okay, then there is a third level, which is even deeper than that. Okay, now I want to tell you a fact. Okay, it has been shown, research has shown this. The most effective people in your network are actually not the first level. They are the second and third levels. Think about this. So even if you have a lot of people in the bottom left corner in the orange box, they can still help you because they may know people who can help you. Okay, so please don't disregard those in the bottom left corner. Okay, so I want to give you a minute to sort of take this screenshot so that you can actually do this exercise after this workshop. Okay, because I think this is pretty important. You have to understand. So I don't want you all to sort of this person, he's not important to me, can't help me. No, it's not about him. Okay, it's about maybe who he knows. Okay, so that's important. All right. So hopefully you all got that screenshot. Okay, so that's part of the story now. Okay, so you have a map. Okay, as like I said, it's not complete because as you go along time, you start to populate this more. Now, another one I want to talk to you about is this notion of a bucket list. Okay, what do we mean by a bucket list? I think all of you have a bucket list, right? Okay, Yvonne is asking me, how can you explain the meaning of influence? Influence is basically, okay, if I go back to this, influence is basically someone who has impact on your career. Okay, some of you mentioned ex-bosses or boss. Maybe your boss knows a lot of people and those people can help you in your next step. That's somebody who has high influence or high impact. Okay, so Yvonne, I hope that answers your question. So coming back to this bucket list. All of us have bucket lists, right? Things that we want to do in our lifetime. Okay, so for me, right, my travel bucket list is I want to go to Iceland, I want to go to Alaska, all the cold places, by the way. So I want to visit all these places. You may have a bucket list as well. So why do we want to do a company bucket list? A company bucket list is basically a list of companies that we want to work for or we admire. Okay, so there's a company bucket list. And it really, having a bucket list like this actually provides us focus because when we do research on our targets, that helps us a lot. Okay, and then we have ability to find whether these companies actually match us. I'll go through the process, with you in the next slide. And then you start compiling information about them so that when we come across opportunities, it becomes easier for us to know what these opportunities are. Okay, and this one is very important. When we have a company bucket list, when we do all the research, it helps us identify the decision makers. Okay, so it links back to the network map that we're talking about. Okay. And then, once we know a lot about the company, that particular company, then it gives us an idea, say, hey, they're actually going to do this. I can anticipate what they need. So like, for example, okay, my client a few years ago, when he heard that Amazon was coming in, how did he hear about Amazon coming to Singapore? He basically did his research. Okay, he went on the internet or talked to people and started, because he was in the logistics industry. So he was saying, what company I can get into, what are the main ones? Then he identified Amazon as one of them. Okay, so then he goes in and then he finds out, oh, Amazon is coming to Singapore. Wow, gold mine for him. And he's in that logistic area. So he successfully managed to get a job there. Okay, Angie said, define the company bucket list again. Company bucket list is basically a list of companies that you either admire or you want to work for eventually. Okay. All right. So How do we then craft the bucket list? Okay, so these are the things that you need to have. You can actually do it in columns. Okay, so you can have a piece of paper, you write it in columns. Okay, so let me go down one by one what these items are. So first of all, you have to identify the company, right? So typically, maybe you identify a list of 8 to 10 companies. So how you do this, you basically go online, or maybe even talking to people. You identify what are the companies that you want to work for, what are the growth segments, and then you start doing some research, digging what are the trends, what are they doing. Okay? Then the next thing you have to really understand, it's not just knowing about the company. That's not enough. You have to know why this company excites you. Why are you interested in that company? Okay, it could be maybe because the company, you like the company's values, you like the brand, you like the image, okay, or the company is producing products that you like. Right? Every time I do this exercise, a lot of people mention Google and Apple. Then when I ask them why you choose Google and Apple, oh, because Google very strong brand name I like, or Apple I like their products, which is fine. But as long as you understand why this company excites you. Okay? The next thing you have to do here is this. How does the company relate to you? This one is important now. Okay? Do you like the company because their corporate values fit your corporate values? Do you like do you want to work in the company because you have the right skills that they are looking for? You have the experience they are looking for? Okay? In other words, how do you fit into that company? Okay, so very, very important that you see this. Very important. So I'm going to link all this back to the exercise that you did previously about your problem solving area. So bear with me. Okay, this is all going to link back to that area. Okay, so now that you know how you fit in. Okay, so then obviously the last one is themes. Now, why do I ask you to do this themes? Because when you're listing down multiple companies, maybe 8 to 10, all right, next time when another company comes in, you say, hey, that company looks interesting. Should I add that company into this list? Okay. Then the way to decide is to then look at the previous companies and say, what do all those other companies have in common? Are they from the same industry? Are they doing the same product range? Are they having the same culture or the same coming from the same country? Like for example, many of you may say, I want to work for a US MNC. Okay. Or they are all selling products to a particular customer segment, okay, like young people. Okay, so if you can identify those themes that's common across all the companies that you've selected before, when another new company comes in, then you can see, does it match up with the others in terms of the themes? Then it helps you decide whether you want to include that company into your list or not. Okay, so the themes are important. Okay, because the themes is also related to how it relates to you, how you fit in. Okay, so think about this. Are we okay with this so far? Okay, so once we have this, during the course of your research, you very naturally will be able to identify who the key people are. Very, very easily. Because you're doing all the research, you're looking at what's happening there. Okay, so that is a bucket list, putting together a bucket list. So let me sort of show the slide so that you all can take a screenshot of this. Hopefully it makes sense to you. So I'm putting together like a scaffolding. So you did a map and now you're doing the bucket list of companies. Next thing, I'm going to try and put it both together. I'm going to put both together. All right. Okay. So you've got this. So next one, I want to talk about how do you use the information to build your network already. So now it's the plan of attack. How do you go out and meet up with these people? All right. So all those columns there. Okay, Yvonne, how do we do research? I think essentially everybody has a different way of doing it, but normally it's a combination of either talking to people in the industry or doing online research. Okay, so those are essentially the two ways you do your research. Okay. Okay, so planning itself. What's the first step? Expand. Okay, so first of all, you need to understand what are you trying to achieve. Okay, so it could be whether you find a connection, you're trying to move into a new industry, you want to, if you're an entrepreneur, you want to expand your client base. Oh, here's my picture frozen, is it? Let me just double check. Oh, my picture frozen. Oh, my picture died already. I think my camera is kaput. Okay, let me just continue this without the picture first. Okay, so this is it, goals. All right. Then next thing here is to look at who you know currently. So this is where you look at your, remember your network map, your first levels. Okay, so you bring in who you know. Okay, so that is your current resources. Then this is where, well, it could be LinkedIn, it could be through LinkedIn, Shiwei. It all depends on where you know the people from. Okay, LinkedIn is one source. Okay, then the wish list. Now, this is where you start looking at who your second and third levels are, because you may not know them directly. Okay, so this is where it's a result of your research that you've done in your bucket list. Okay, who are the people you would like to meet from your bucket list? Okay, and from there, then you start thinking who in your first level can help you connect up with those people in the bucket list. Right, so this is where LinkedIn is very powerful, because LinkedIn can tell you who they know, right? The second and third level. Okay, so one very easy way is to actually, if you have Mr. ABC, you identify as a key person, but you don't know him directly, just type his name into the LinkedIn profile. His name comes up, and then there will be second and third level. He could say second. Then you can just search who do you know in common, and then from there you get a referral. Okay, so that's not a difficult thing to do. So this is the other interesting part. So you then have to ask yourself, do you have anything in common with that person? Okay, whether from alumni, whether same organization, whether you're both attending the same events or conferences or the same groups and all that. The reason why you need to do this is because if you have something in common with that person, it makes it so much easier for you to connect up with that person. Okay, so remember that. Then this one, what can you offer? How can you help them? So remember your problem solving skills, what problems you solve when you did that at the beginning. This is where it comes in now. This is where it comes in. Okay, how can you help that person? How can you? So you got to be very clear about what are your problem solving skills. Then this part about personal pitch. Now, I'm not going to go in too much detail about being a personal, how to do a personal pitch, but I just show you a short video first. Okay, so that you can take a look and see, and there's a lot of information out there on personal pitches. But I just want to focus on, as a job seeker, what can you do? So let me show you this video. Let me just see whether it's there. Okay.
In today's episode, I'm going to help you describe what it is that you do in 60 seconds or less so that people instantly see the value of it. Hi there, my name's Max Simon, the founder of Big Vision Business, and welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here. Now, people always ask me, how do I describe what I do so that people see the value of it? I've watched people struggle for like decades trying to figure this out. You just make it way more complicated than it needs to be. So today I'll break down that's right, only 3 simple steps to help you nail it once and for all. Step number 1, forget about trying to describe everything that you ever do in one sentence. That's right, forget it. Like, it's kind of ridiculous, right? To think that you can take everything you do, the immensity of it, and distill it down into one sentence. It's not what I do. Instead, we'll move on to steps 2 and 3. The second thing you do is to get into mind one particular client that you just loved working with. They were easy, you got great results, it was enjoyable, they paid you well. One person. What were the specific issues that this person came to you for? What were their challenges, their problems, their stuck points? What was going on with them that brought them into your life? Once you have that clarity, the third step is simply to articulate the transformation you helped this person provide. So for example, let's say somebody came to you with migraine headaches, and in 30 days you got rid of those headaches for them totally naturally. Well, you might say to someone who has headaches, I can help you relieve your migraine headaches in 30 days or less, all natural approaches. Sounds pretty simple and kind of sexy, doesn't it? So all you need to do is articulate the specific transformation you provide based upon a specific group of people dealing with certain issues. Once you have those, you just segment them by your different offers, meaning if you're speaking to one group of people, it's okay for you to have a different sentence. If you're speaking to another group of people, it's okay to have a different sentence. It's all right for you to have lots of things that you articulate that you can customize based upon who's in front of you and who's showing up, right? Gives a lot of relief to this whole I have to have one little sentence to describe everything that I do. So now it's your turn.
All right. A lot of stuff to consider, but I just want to focus down on what is a pitch for job seekers, right? Just purely for job seekers alone. Okay, so that person in the video actually spoke a lot, I think in very generic terms. But in terms of job seekers, what do you guys think? When you are looking at a job seeker, as a job seeker, what do you pitch? When you say something at an elevator pitch, what are the things that you need to say? Can you type into the chat box? What are some of the things that you need to say? Okay, she's saying say product market fit. Any other things that you want to say? Anything else you feel that, when you're talking to a prospective employer, what are some of the things that you want to say? Your skills and experience, work culture, fit. They're all very important stuff, right? Your personality. Okay? So I think maybe I'll just make it simple and boil it down to a few key things. Right? So first of all, you want to tell you what you do well. So it comes back to the things that you are good at. Okay? How you help them. Okay, so your problem solving skills. What you would like to do now. Okay? What are the things that you're looking out for? What are the opportunities that you're looking out for? And then, what motivates you? What motivates you? Now, you might say, wow, there's a lot of things to say in those few words. So, I'm not saying that you say all the things at one go. Okay? So like the guy said, sometimes you just say one sentence or one group first, and then when the interest gets going, then you start going. So let me give you an example. All right? So this is me. Right? So I'm Yuan, I'm a career coach and trainer, and I help people find the best career versions of themselves. And I stop there. Now usually when I say this, I get a lot of questions. A lot of people ask me some more. So I explain further. Okay? Most people look for me when they're feeling stuck in their jobs or who want something different in their careers. And I help them mainly through group workshops or individual coaching sessions. And I recently launched some e-courses for those who are more DIY inclined. Then people hear this, then they start asking more questions. Right? Then I start elaborating more. Okay? Then sometimes I round off by telling them what my passion is. But my biggest passion is helping others do the same thing I do. I train and certify others to become career coaches. So since 2016, I've actually helped almost 600 people become certified career coaches or advisors. Okay? So this is just an illustration, okay, of what you can do as far as a personal pitch is concerned. So don't feel pressured that you have to say everything at one go. Have an opening, start a discussion, all right? Then as the conversation goes, you can introduce the rest of the elements. Is that all right? Okay, so that's a very short thing about personal pitching. So I'm not going to go into detail. So let me complete this whole network building plan first. So okay, so you have the last one is the connection part. So you got informational interviews, you got referrals, friends or family, right? So the whole idea here is that you want to value add. Okay, so that's the important part. Okay, so just to summarize, this is all the things that you have. If you want, you can take a screenshot of this. So I think there was a question from somebody about the first two columns. So essentially, hopefully, you can see from the first two columns. Okay, so your goals, what are you trying to achieve, and then who are your first level contacts? In other words, those that you identify in the network map. Okay, Ron is asking, but what if I'm a mid-career changer and I'm starting over? How do I brand myself if this is a blank slate? Now, Ron, as a career changer, there are quite a few things that you need to do. Actually, I did a full day workshop on this last month. I think in a nutshell, okay, personal branding helps because you are trying to go into a new area, but you must be very clear what value add you bring to the table. Okay, so there's a lot of work you need to do, Ron, in terms of identifying what makes you relevant to the new area that you're going to, whether it's new skills or the experience or anything that's transferable across. Okay, so that's the main thing. Maybe towards the end, if we've got more time, I'll elaborate a bit more on that, Ron. So, but meantime, maybe that's a short version first. Okay, all right. Are we okay with the network plan? Okay, so I don't have time to talk about the informational interview portion. So I'm going to skip that part and basically go into okay, actually let me do this. I will talk about informational interviews. Okay, I will talk about informational interviews. So let me just go into this. Okay, I think we still can. I can squeeze in. All right, so information interviews. I think those of you who know this basically is a process by where you gain more market information. So another video to show you what informational interview is, just a short one. Okay.
An informational interview is an amazingly powerful tool. It can help you learn about different types of work you're interested in. And by providing inside perspective, it may even connect you to opportunities you couldn't see from the outside. So let's take a look at what informational interviewing is all about. An informational interview is not a job interview, and it's not a tricky play to get a job. If you're asking for a job and they do have one, then they'll likely start judging whether you're a good fit. And if they don't have one, then that conversation ends there. The key to a successful informational interview is curiosity. With sincere curiosity and good questions about your interviewee's life and experience, you gain insights into their successes and failures, how they got where they are, and what's important to them. Your curiosity will lead to an authentically engaged conversation, which also opens the door for the interviewee to get curious about you. The professional you're speaking with might say something like, "Wow, you're asking some really good questions." And in that transition, informational interviewing becomes even more valuable for someone looking for work. Informational interviews give you an opportunity to see what kinds of work resonate with you and help you determine what communities you would like to be a part of. In a good informational interview, the professional you speak with gets a lot out of the conversation too. They get to discuss their life and their work with someone who's curious about their experience and values their expertise. Plus, they get the pleasure of talking with someone who's genuinely interested in what they do. How do you do it well? Here are 5 tips to get you started. First, do your homework. Take some time to research LinkedIn or other online platforms to learn about the professional you're interviewing. Consider what questions you have about their life and work. The second tip is to try to meet in person. On the phone is okay, but face-to-face is best. 3, always try to buy the coffee or lunch. Your interviewee is giving you their time. Paying is a good way of showing your appreciation and beginning to create a connection. 4, ask your interviewee who else they recommend you talk with. If the interview has gone well, they may be willing to connect you to other professionals you can learn from and who might have opportunities for you. Finally, tip number 5. After the interview, send a thank you. Email is okay, but a handwritten note is even better. And if they ask you to keep them posted on your progress, do so.
All right. Okay. I'm going to skip the rest of the slides because I think we don't have much time on that. So let me just round off to this portion itself. My apologies for the camera. Let me just see if I can fix the camera here, because I think my camera has gone kaput for some reason. Okay. Let me just tag on this first. So you all know informational interviews essentially is really about connecting up with people, right? Connecting up with people who matter and trying to get more information from them. Okay, so in essence, it's about reaching out to the people that you've identified as someone who can help you in your network map. Okay, so that is the key thing. Okay, so I can't resolve the image problem now, so let me just come back to the class first. All right. Okay, so we talked about how to attract opportunities. Okay, we talked about how to attract opportunities. So in this portion itself, we identify who can help us and what can we say. Okay, so that is the essence of how we communicate to everybody. All right. So any questions at this stage? Any questions at this stage from anyone? Questions at all? Okay, so I think nobody is there. So let me then just round this off with the last portion. So let me just go into the menu. Okay, all right. So let's go on to the last one, which is managing the personal brand itself. Okay, so again, it's not just about talking about the personal brand. It's not just about reaching out to people. We have to consistently manage the brand as well. Okay, so that's very, very important. So what are the things? Sorry, no, Ajay, it's not a slide. It's actually my camera. My camera is supposed to be there, but never mind. Okay, so Linda, is information interview recently happened only? Last time we don't have this. No, information interview has been around for a long time. Okay, just that maybe people don't talk about it too much, or maybe they call it in a different term. But if you Google information interview, there's a lot of information out there. Okay, so I think sorry, I don't have time to talk about this, but I think maybe later on I will address this. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, so let me just do this. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so personal brand. Okay, you want to make it intentional. Okay, so here we are talking about managing perception and credibility. Okay, managing perception and credibility. So that's very, very important. And how do we do this? Is by looking at the things that we share online. Okay, the things that we share online. Okay, so this slide I showed you earlier, okay, talking about what articles you share, what articles you write. And remember, I told you that even those of you who are not very good at writing, okay, you can actually curate your own articles. In other words, share what other people are writing. So there's this rough rule of thumb which is called the 5-3-2 rule. Okay, so curate. That means curate means getting together information from other places and sharing it with other people. Okay, so 50% of the time you can do this to share the relevant articles. If you're inclined to write your own posts, you can spend 30% of that. And then the last one, which I think a lot of people miss out, is this notion of telling people who you are, making people know that you are human. Okay, humanize a post to show who you are. Right, so that's so important. So please don't dismiss this. Okay, so that's then the next thing that we need to do in order to manage our personal brand is really looking at how we update things, how we in terms of status and the things that we do. So we have to be relevant, timely, and then we share the relevant information that reinforces our personal brand. Okay, so that's so important. So maybe we can spend the next 5 minutes or so before I round the things up. Is why don't you just spend the next 5 minutes, create a post in LinkedIn, about what you are doing now, whether you are doing this, attending this workshop, or whether the contents of this workshop has created something in your mind to tell you, hey, this is something I want to do. Okay, so let's spend the next 5 minutes on this. Then let me try and resolve things on my side here. Okay, so I see you guys in 5 minutes. Okay. All right. I think I cut short the wait and then I'll come back to it. I saw some questions here. I think Yvonne is asking whether there would be a presentation, the slide decks to be shared with you. Yvonne, if you stay on longer, I'll share with something that actually even better than just the deck itself. Okay, so it'll be in the bonus section later on. Okay, so just wait, hold your horses for a while. I'm finishing soon. Okay, now let's round this off. So another way to manage the perception and credibility is, I remember I talked to you about your network. People also get an impression about you from the quality of your network. Okay, so it comes from the mapping that you have. Okay, so comes back to this notion. I think there was a question asked by somebody else to say, do we just accept anybody that comes in? It depends on what you're trying to achieve. Okay, if you're trying to get into a particular industry, then hopefully your network are people from that industry. Then that tells people that you are really, really interested in the area. Okay, so that's important. So the idea here now is to make sure that everything is relevant. Okay, everything is relevant. All right. So this portion, basically what we talked about, hopefully you have some techniques to help you continuously develop your brand. All right, so it is now just 4 o'clock. So let me round off the day, and then I'll go into some tips and tricks after the session itself, so that you all can take away something that's even more concrete, relevant. All right. Okay. So at the beginning, I told you, right? Personal branding for job seekers is very, very important for every job seeker. But more importantly, if you are someone who is going to change careers or someone who's going to look for opportunities that are not advertised in the public arena. Okay, so personal branding becomes a lot more important, especially in these two areas. Okay, so over the last couple of hours, we focus on attracting opportunities. Okay, how we get those things to come to us and how do we identify those things. So here we looked at 3 sectors, how we define. Okay, so we'll talk about the job search process. Where does the personal branding play in the job search process? We talked about what your goals are and what your positioning is. Okay. Then we talked about communication, and essentially we're looking at telling people who we are and what is the process of building relationships. Okay, we talked about the map, we talked about the plan, okay, we talked about the bucket list. All right. And last part, which was a slight interruption, but nevertheless, we talk about how you manage your personal brand, and we focus here on managing perception, managing credibility. Okay, so really, at the end of the day, hopefully you got these 3 takeaways: how to best leverage on your personal brand and to your strengths and your objectives, how to identify who can help you and what you can say, so the personal pitch, and then also your problem solving skills. Okay, and then what are some of the techniques to help you continuously reinforce and develop your brand itself. All right, so always come back to this. No matter what you think, all right, employers are in general risk averse. So you got to become an asset, not a risk. And the best way, in my view, to become an asset is how you can help them solve their problem. Okay, so important. So please remember this. Okay, I came across this saying from Oscar Wilde. Okay, just about a couple of weeks ago. So here it's really about, whatever process you are going through, so important to be authentic. So important to be authentic. Okay, so especially in the area of personal branding, okay, it's no use trying to be someone that you are not. Okay, so I think at the end of the day, whenever you position yourself, whatever you position yourself as, it has to be something that you can build on, something that's you, something that you do naturally. Okay, so you have to be authentic. So that is the underlying factor for anything that to do with personal branding. Okay, so we've got another few minutes. Let's address any Q&As. Anybody got any questions to ask? No worries. I think before I go into the bonus things, I just maybe spend 5 minutes on this. Anybody got anything they want to ask? Maybe I just unmute people if you want to talk instead of. Anybody? Or if not, then I'll go straight into the bonus part. Okay, yes, Yvonne. What is your question?
Hello, hi.
Hi, Yvonne.
Yes, hi. Can you see me?
Yes.
I can't see stuff. Okay. I actually wanted to ask about this job search journey. I have an email
Ah.
that I use for everything.
Ah.
So I was wondering if I should use a separate email. Because this particular email also links to my social media platforms.
Okay.
So that's why I only use this email. But then I also have other emails coming in,
Okay.
which I have already categorized in folders so I can ignore them.
Okay.
But sometimes I ignore too much. I ignore some of the emails that I'm supposed to address to. So my question is, do I set up another email account just for this job search purpose?
Okay. A lot depends on what your email address is right now. Okay. Now, I'm not going to ask you to say it out loud. Okay. Because if your email name, the email address is very frivolous. Okay. So I'll give you an example. I had a client last time. His email address was ginandtonic@gmail.com. Okay.
Gin and tonic, okay.
Yeah. So imagine if you use that same, he used that same email to apply for jobs. What sort of impression will he give to employers?
Gin and tonic.
Yeah, right. Not. So it all depends on what your email address is right now. If it is just your normal name, that's fine. It's fine. Okay. So then it's a question of how you manage your incoming emails. So you need to have a system for that. But if you feel that, hey, that's not working for me, you want a separate one, then by all means you can do so. Not an issue.
So actually it is fine that I use it. I use that because it's linked to LinkedIn and my other social
Yeah,
media.
that's
So
fine.
yeah, so I wanted the employer to check on my I actually had this objective that I want the
Understand.
email that linked to the social media because
Understand.
I have my own social groups there. So
But in LinkedIn, you can choose not to show your email, So
that's a
yeah,
problem.
employers search you up through your name.
Oh,
And
so
then
actually-
also, if you want to highlight your email, your LinkedIn profile, that under the LinkedIn there is actually a profile URL. So you go to your profile, you see the URL there. You can actually highlight that as well.
Okay, because actually I was told that in Lincoln I can have two email. I can have a secondary email address.
Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I tried to do that,
Mm.
but it wasn't successful.
Okay.
So then I give up. I
Okay.
don't know how to do it because I'm not very tech savvy. So yeah, I asked you about the presentation slide because I missed the first 20 minutes.
Okay. I later on I'm going to show you how you can catch up on the first 20 minutes. Okay.
That's
Don't
not
worry.
very common. So I'm so sorry about it.
No worries. Okay.
Also missed the first half of it because I went for the ICE review.
Ayo, you miss also many things. Okay, I'm going to show you how you can catch up. Okay, I can show you how you can catch up. So let me just address any other question.
I got two questions.
Yes, Linda.
First question is the linking. I went to linking to apply for my job, and then I able to attach my resume to the linking. So when I attach my resume in the linking, they already got my phone number and my email. So the employer can call me, right?
Yeah. I think that's the purpose of the resume. You need to have your contact in there.
Through the linking now, because I received
I see. So you put your resume online on LinkedIn to download. Is that right?
No, because I have my resume on my laptop ready.
Yeah.
So in the linking, when they when I go in and they ask me to apply for that job, I click apply. Then next after they could go next and then they got download your email your upload your resume. So I just upload my resume and after I submit.
Yeah, that's fine. That's the normal application process.
Oh, okay, so good lah. But so far, I don't know whether they call me or not. I can't because some of them they call me. They say I apply. I'm not sure whether through LinkedIn, because I also apply through my Career Future, and also apply to Job Street. That kind of, I don't
Is
know.
it the same company, the same role?
Different company, different company. Yeah, of course, the
Okay.
role is about the same one, but different
Okay,
company.
so
yeah.
so that's the problem when we apply too many.
Oh.
We don't keep track.
I don't
Okay.
keep track.
Yeah, you have to keep track because it's so embarrassing. If somebody calls you up and say, ask you about this, and then you don't know where you applied. Okay.
Because we have to apply for a lot of job in order.
Okay. So that's where okay. Maybe not a topic for today lah, but essentially, we have to move away from this mass application of jobs. Okay, because the problem with doing mass application is that, okay, number one is that we don't know where we apply to, but secondly, more importantly, is that we tend to do a standard application, a standard resume, which is we cannot. Okay, we have to customize our resume for every single different job. Okay. So that is the key thing. No, we are gone are the days where we can just send one version of resume to every other job. No longer the case already. Okay.
It's a time taken out, so you must be very fast.
No, you have to move away from the mentality, Linda. It's not about buckshot approach already, because now it doesn't work anymore. Maybe it used to work in the past, but now it doesn't work anymore. You have to be very specific. It has to be customized. That's why you have to do your legwork, your research about what company you're going to apply to and how relevant are you to that company, to that job. Okay.
And then the other question is, some of them they call me for the interview and then the first thing not all of them like that. Some of them the first thing they call you especially the recruiter, but some of the company itself, they ask you what is your salary range first.
Okay.
So they want to see whether it matches to their budget or not.
Okay.
So many of times I notice in this case their budget is quite low one. So and then when they ask you about your last job, then it doesn't match. They will say maybe we don't want to waste our time, and then they just go on.
You see, I understand totally where you're from. Okay, a few ways to approach this. Number one here is really, before you apply for that job, you have to look at your own salary expectations. Are you willing to accept that low salary? Okay, if you are, then apply. Then you should tell them, okay, you should then express that, okay, you are willing to accept that salary level. If you are not, then you apply and they call you up, then you are in a quandary, because you are not willing to accept such a low salary, but they're still calling you. Then are you going to proceed? Because if the end they offer you the job and then you tell them that you actually want to hire, then how is that going to match up? Okay. Now the other thing that hear me out, Linda. The other thing that you need to consider here is this: you have to look at what you feel your market value is. Okay, so you have to do some legwork there already. So when you feel confident in your market level, then you start looking at applying to jobs that actually match your market level. Because now, Linda, what's happening now is that you're blindly, sorry to say blindly, but you're doing mass application. So you just apply, click apply, and pray.
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't work anymore, Linda. I'm saying this again. It doesn't work anymore. So that's why you come into that awkward situation when they ask you about salary level, and then you think that whatever you're going to say is going to price yourself out, because you put yourself in that position. Okay. So, I mean, sorry, I don't have a lot of time to spend on this topic, but really at the end of the day, maybe actually I tell you what, later on I'm going to show you another workshop that I'm doing, which is next week, February 22nd, where I will talk about this in particular. All right, okay. Linda? Yeah. So if you can hold your horses on that question on February 22nd, I think I can explain more, because of time factor, and I see a lot of other questions coming on. I rather, give other people a bit of airtime. Is that okay with you, Linda?
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. All right, so let me just see. Okay. Okay, how to reduce the perception that one is overqualified for a role that you're interested in, even if the role is less demanding than the previous role. Okay, so this one, again, it's down to how you position yourself. Okay, so at the end of the day, the reason why are you thinking about that you're overqualified? Why do they ask you this question about that you're overqualified? Is it because they think that you are expecting higher salary? Is it because they think that you're not going to leave? I mean, you're not going to stay. Okay, so those are concerns you need to plan to answer. All right. So, and at the end of the day, it's about being able to address concerns about your age, about where you're from, about your background, and anticipate how you're going to answer those things. Okay, so it's not a straightforward yes and no answer. Okay. Daniel, mentioned in one of those slides about networking, how do we let go of those perceptions such as caring if how others view us, like if we have a motive or not? I mean, Daniel, when we talk about developing relationships, again, at the end of the day, you're focusing on those things in the yellow box. So you're developing relationships. So when you're meeting somebody for the first time, right? You're obviously if somebody say, why are you wanting to talk to me? Okay. So obviously they may have some question mark about your motives and all that. So I think you have to be up aboard. Say maybe you can say that, oh, actually I'm interested in coming into this area that you're working in, or I'm actually interested in doing the job that you're doing. I want to learn more from you. So those are things that you can explain to them as well. And this is also relevant when you're doing informational interviews. Okay, so Daniel, I hope they answer that. How do we answer when the employer asks you when you can start work? Wow. That's a good question, right? Joanne, it's up to you. There's no hard and fast rule to answer when you can start work. Okay, so I think you have to tell them when are you comfortable to start work. How do we present our interest in an interview and yet not too over present? Well, I think again, Angeline, this notion of sharing what you do, what you're interested in, okay, you have to make it relevant to the company. Once you make it relevant to the company, then you're not overselling already. You're just basically telling them how you can help them. Okay, so Angeline. Okay, so okay, Chris say how to make it relevant. Well, Chris, I just went through that for the last 1.5 hours, 2 hours, essentially looking at how you solve their problems, doing research on what the company is going through, and then basically linking the two up. Okay. Okay, Chris say hobby badminton. Then you have to ask yourself, how relevant is the hobby badminton to the job that you're applying to? If it's not relevant, then why do you want to say it? Yeah, then don't say it. Yeah. I mean, if it's relevant, once it's relevant, then it's good to highlight it. But if it's not relevant, like for example, I had a participant, one student did this in university. She asked me, can I say that I have got a lot of hobbies, I want to put this hobby into my resume. Then what's that hobby? Juggling. Then I said, but how relevant is that to the job that you're applying for? They say, oh, because it shows multitasking. Then I pingsan. Okay, so there are other ways to show multitasking skills, right? Not just juggling. Okay, so Chris, they ask for my hobby. Okay, then that's fine. Then maybe they are interested in what you do as a pastime, which is fine. Right? Maybe they just want to see another side of you, okay, which is okay. Okay, Jason asks, how about sharing the resume to headhunter and companies, HR, encountering issue, headhunter cannot represent once company have the profile. Okay, this thing about going through a headhunter is a bit tricky here. Okay, because if you look at it, the headhunter, whose interest is he representing? What do you guys think? If you think that he's representing your interest, you're wrong. He's representing the interest of the company. Okay, because the company is the one that's giving him the pay, the commission. Okay, so that is a reality. Okay, so at the end of the day, sad to say, that's why if you are relying on the recruiter the headhunter to present you in a good picture to the company, then you have to develop a relationship with the recruiter. Okay. Okay, another one. How to answer when the HR asks that, are there any push factors for you to look for opportunity? Okay, this is something that you have to rehearse because obviously you don't want to badmouth. Okay, so obviously, there are certain things like maybe good terms that you can say. So I want to expand my horizon because I'm really looking at doing something more. Okay, or I'm looking to move into a growth area. Okay, or I feel that I'm going through some courses right now and I want to be able to use those skills in the new job that I'm looking at. Okay, so something that is more proactive and more positive lah. Okay. Okay, there were a couple of questions here about the gaps in the CV. Okay, so again here maybe the question is it's a very general question. Okay, because the gap again at the end of the day, you know, for those of you who have been away from work for a long time, okay, if you are blindly, I won't say blindly, if you are just applying to jobs blindly, that means you're just writing in and click and pray, just a bit like some of you are typing in and just pray and then praying for a response. Chances are you will not get picked up. Okay, if you look at it from the point of view of the recruiter, okay, they are risk averse, right? So they are only going to pick up people who fits their profile. So how do they fit their profile? They look at your job experience and they say that if you don't have the rough rule of thumb, if your qualifications and skills are less than 70% of what they're looking at or what they're wanting, then chances are you will not get called up. Okay, so for people who are career switchers, for people who have not been working for significant amount of time, for people who are looking to identify, or rather, okay, for these two groups, you need to go to my workshop next week. Go for the hidden jobs. Okay, because by blindly applying for advertised jobs, your chance of getting picked up for interview is much less than those people who have the relevant skills and experience. Because again, if you look from the point of view of the recruiter, they're only going to pick up people who they find are able to help them immediately. Okay, so you need to go another route to get those opportunities. Okay, so that's by going through the hidden jobs. Okay. Okay, let me see others. Okay, if you want to reach through the company only goes through the recruiter. What is your chance of success? There will always be companies who push you off to say that, oh, you just apply to a recruiter. So and when the person says that, when a company says that, that means you don't have a relationship with anybody in the company. So that's why if you have a developer with somebody that's on the inside, that person can be your supporter, can be your referral. Okay, so that's why informational interviews are very, very powerful, because they become your recruiter on the inside. They become your supporter. Okay, so again, I'll be talking about this a lot in the hidden market things next week. So again, I don't have time to talk about this here. I'm conscious of the time. Let me see, what else is there? How to craft my branding CV where I have experiences and fit the job but no professional certification, tertiary education. Right, now, in the old days, tertiary education is important, right? But nowadays, while it is still important, but companies tend to also look at what relevant skills and experience you have. So if you're able to come across that particular portion, that you have the relevant skills and experience, then chances are you probably still get called up. However, if the job that you're applying for is very, very credential, you need to have certain credentials, okay? And that credential can only come from maybe you taking some courses and all that. Then you got no choice. So how do you know this? You can only know this if you do your research about that job. Okay. If you, for example, when I started on this journey as a career coach, okay, I found that I needed to get credentials as a career coach. Even though I have the ability, I needed to get the credentials. So I had to go for courses to get certified, so that people will believe that I can do coaching. Okay, so that's important. So you have to do your research. Okay, so that was from Jing Bi Ling or Alice. Okay, if you have qualifications only but no work experience and age is against you, what are chances of getting a job since employers are risk averse? Okay, Teo, again, you know, if chances are, if you are applying purely through advertised jobs and blindly applying without getting to know somebody from the inside, then your chances of being picked up is much lesser. Okay. However, if you build your brand, you go about developing your network, getting to know somebody inside, and they become your supporter, then your chances increase better. Okay. Chris says, can you recommend any work or career support group, the Telegram or WhatsApp? At this point, I don't have any, but I think you just have to, I don't know of any, to be frank, Chris. Okay, Brett. previous employer resigned 2 years ago, asked her to go back to a company. In your opinion, should she rejoin if her ex-boss is dominating, demanding, difficult to get along with, or wait for the next job opportunity? This one I cannot answer because it's down to how desperate your friend is for a job. If your friend can still tahan and move on, because it sounds to me like maybe one of the reasons she left in the first place was because of her ex-job, of her ex-boss. So if she goes back, she's going to have the same situation again. All right. So, I cannot answer that. I cannot say you don't go back because sometimes she may need the salary. Then obviously, then she may be her choice. She may be more inclined to go back just to suffer that for a few months or whatever. Okay. So it's down to her. Yeah. Okay. There was a question on GitHub profile. So even I'm not very familiar with GitHub. So I think that's a very specific industry portal, if I'm not wrong. So you probably got to do your research to see how relevant GitHub is into the area that you're going into. Okay, so I'm not very familiar with that. But I think, if it is something that's very prominent in your industry that you're going to, then probably you need to be in there. Okay, let me see. Did I miss out anybody's question? Sorry if I did.
So information interview must be with who? Is it with the company that we are applying for or with
Not necessary, Linda. Remember I told you about the doing the network map and doing the bucket list and all that? Okay. So the information interview could be people that you admire working in the same industry and you say, I want to learn from you. So essentially information interview is about learning from that person. Learning what he does, how he became successful, learning about what type of projects or what type of opportunities there are, rather than sort of trying to get him to give you the job itself. Okay, so
that means not necessarily that it's the same job lah. He can be another type of
it can be so long as he is able. If you feel that he's able to give you the information that you're looking for, or he's able to give you advice of what to do. Okay, so that's important. Okay, Daniel asks, how do we maintain or follow up to deepen the relationship? Like any other normal relationships, you continually go back to them and tell them what's happening, or you continue go back to them and build upon what you discussed before. Maybe you came across a piece of information you feel that they may be interested in, and you just go back. So building relationships take time. It's not just one meeting, then you have the relationship already. Okay, so Daniel is continuously going back and just cultivating. It's just like any other friends or any other people you meet. If you want to continue being a friend with that person, you have to keep going back. Okay, be in contact. Okay, so I'll tell you what. I know it's 4:30, so let me very quickly round things up. So let me do this. Okay, I want to ask you to do a few things. Number one here is this. I invite you to connect up with me. Okay, so in two ways. One, obviously, you can join the Facebook group because that's where I regularly, how shall I put it? Regularly post the tips and information about what's happening in the career marketplace, and also some new things that I've done. So I put that link into the chat box, and then also to what else is there? My LinkedIn profile. Okay, so that's my LinkedIn profile. So please do also connect up with me on LinkedIn, because again, I share regular information about what to do next. Okay, how can I?
Are you more actively in LinkedIn or Facebook?
Both. I try to do both.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So
all right.
This QR code is for the LinkedIn one,
No, this QR code is for the Facebook. Okay. So Cecilia asks, how can I find your next Zoom session? Okay, so let me come to that. All right, so this is the invitation is for you to connect up with me, because I regularly share information and updates. Okay, so that's one. So secondly is this thing about the next session. Okay, so I have a session on 22nd February, Attacking the Hidden Job Market, and 18th March, Coaching Yourself to Career Success. All right, so here is really about the way you go for these workshops is the same way you did when you sign up for this particular workshop. It's the same portal. Okay, so you just go in there and sign up. The one in March is not open yet. They only open in March. Okay, so you just sign up for that. And
Have your linking QR code.
I didn't put a LinkedIn QR code here, so let me just put it into the yeah, okay, she's saying thank you so much. She's saying wait, it's in the chat box, the LinkedIn profile. Okay, because otherwise there's too many QR codes, like you scan here, scan there, it's a bit legit, right?
But it's not in QR code, huh? Okay.
No. Okay. All right. So the other thing I need you all to do now, spend the next few minutes, is to fill up this feedback form. So I put the feedback form for today into the chat box as well. That's the QR code for the feedback form. Hopefully, you know, you all found something useful for today. All right. And you know, at the end of the day, I'm trying to give you as much as I can. All right. Now, coming back to topics, because I know that WSG has got a process where most of us will only do one topic a month. And this month is actually quite unusual. I actually do 2 topics last week and this week. Okay. So, and I know a lot of you are asking me about what other topics I do and how can you sign up for it. So I'm going to do something that's different today, right, which I've never done before, which is actually to come up with new topics. And then I'm going to get I'm going to let you all know what those topics are so that you all can join in. It may be outside the WSG webinar series. It's just my own topics. Okay, and don't worry, it's free also. Okay, so no cost or anything like that. So, but the only way I can do this, okay, the only way I can do this is really for you all to help me fill up some information. Okay, so this is the information that I will need from you. Okay, so essentially, it's really a little survey form. Let me again put this QR code into the this URL into the chat box. Okay, so essentially, this is a short survey for you to tell me what other topics you want me to share with you. Okay, and if you want me to tell you, to highlight to you when these topics will occur, whether it's a workshop or whether it's e-courses or article, put down your email. Then I know how to contact you. Okay. Now coming to this question from Yvonne. Yvonne is asking me whether she can get a presentation deck. Let me tell you. Okay. First of all, I'm not allowed to share the presentation deck. Okay. For a variety of reasons. But what I can do is I can share with you a video recording of this workshop. Is that okay, Yvonne and all the others? Okay. So oh, the link is not working. Is the link not working? Oh dear. Let me just confirm this. Very sorry about this. I thought the link was working. Let me just hang on. So if you okay. Let me just find out why the link is not working. I'm so sorry about that. Okay. All right. So yes, this is the one. So let me just share the full. Okay. So let me share the full link for you. Okay. So this is the link to the survey so that I can send you the recording as well. Okay. So this is the survey that you need to put in to tell me what your topics are. All right. Put down your email so they can inform you of those topics in the future, but also tell me, then I can also share with you the video recording. Okay. So hopefully that works for you all. Okay. So that's bonus number 1. So I know I've not done that before. Chat block for copying. Don't copy lah, just click on the link lah. Chris, just click on the link lah. Okay, so is the link working for all of you? I hope it is. Okay, good. So this is bonus number 1. Okay, so hopefully you see some value in this because a lot of people have been asking me about, can you do the deck? Can you do the video? And I thought, what can we do? Okay, so it doesn't allow you to select multiple options. I'm so sorry about this. Why don't you put it under others, Julie? Put it under others. What else you want? Okay, so you choose one and then the others you put under others. Okay, sorry about that, Julie. I just very quickly put this survey up a couple of days ago. So because I just thought that maybe many of you really want some way to continue this activity. Okay, Lim Miao Swan, you have a question? You can unmute yourself if you want to ask that question. Okay, so hopefully this is something that you all want to do. Okay, so this is the bonus number 1. Okay, so it's bonus number 1. Now, bonus number 2 is again is something to up to you guys. Okay, so I recently put together. I did a 1 full day workshop on career switching. Okay, so many actually asked me, and then I put together an e-course. So this e-course, I launched it in February 1st, and many people actually took up the pre-launch offer. So, but then after the pre-launch offer was over, it was I still get a lot of emails saying that, can you all get it cheaper? Can you get cheaper? So I don't want to sort of play out those people who sign up earlier. So I'm still going through another tier for you. So those of you who are interested in learning more about career switching and you want to do this e-course, so this is something that I can provide to you all. Okay, so it is basically a special offer just for you guys. Okay, instead of paying the full price, this is the offer for you. So you think about it. Okay, again, it's up to you. I'm no compulsion, no pressure for you all to get this up, because at the end of the day, it's up to you all. All right, so I'm going to share this link again into the chat box. Hopefully this one works this time. Okay, so again, this is only for people who have attended this workshop that you get this special price. Okay, because otherwise other people would not get, it will be a higher price or maybe even the normal price itself. Okay, so that is the second bonus for you all today. All right, so remember, the first bonus is giving me an idea of what topics they are, giving me your email so that I can send you the video recording. And then this is the second bonus about those of you who want to know more about career switching and also doing the thing is not working again. What is happening there? I'm so sorry about this, man. Okay, so let me see. Okay, this is crazy. Why all these links are not working? Thank you, Victor. Okay, so this is the link to the course itself. All right, so hopefully, it was working just now. Okay, so two bonuses for you all today. But at the end of the day, at a minimum, please do connect up with me on LinkedIn or through the Facebook, right? So just to keep up to date about what's happening, and because I regularly share a lot of information. Okay, so just to summarize some activities, some final activities that you need to do. Okay, so is to connect up with me on LinkedIn. Go and fill up the feedback form for today's workshop, and then also fill up the survey for the new topics that you want me to conduct, and then so that I can inform you, and then I also send through the video. And then also, if you want to take up this offer of the e-course, then you all can do so as well. All right, wow, it's almost 4:40 already. I overstretched. So any final things? Anything you all want to ask before I close off for today? I know some of you all have gone off already. I hope you all found it useful. So I hope I can see you all next week as well. In the meantime, just take care. Right? Hopefully, be healthy. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, everyone, for coming in again. And for those of you who come in before, thank you again for coming back in. So take care. Be safe. All right. I see you guys very soon.